This is the strongest deck in Champions of Otherworldly Magic, at least right now. Madeleine Midrange. Maybe you could call it a control deck. I don't know. Would you call it midrange or control? It's pretty fast-paced, so I wouldn't call it control, but this deck is able to basically clear the board over and over using some of the strongest removal in the game. Not really the strongest, but the strongest when you consider the tempo, because these board clears are very low energy costs. So nature still has bigger clears with Earthquake and Fungal Spores, but the Tsunami tech with Madeleine is wild. So Tsunami, the keyword, in case you don't know, does 3 damage to one of the enemy's creatures and 1 damage to all the rest of their creatures. But with Madeleine, all your Tsunamis get +1 damage on both effects. So you do 4 damage to one creature, 2 damage to every other creature on the enemy's side of the board. Your creatures don't get touched. So it's an asymmetrical crowd control spell, a board wipe spell. You're able to clear the opponent's board without damaging your own creatures. That's different from Earthquake and from Fungal Spores, both of which are symmetrical. They affect your board and the opponent's board. So the asymmetry of the Tsunami effect is very strong. Combine that with the fact that water has a lot of strong win conditions, which enable them to do a lot of damage to the opponent. You've got strong defense and strong offense, as well as good tempo. It adds up to a ridiculously strong deck. I just used the Madeleine archetype to go from the 1400s to over 1600, putting me around the top 25 players, top 30. So really good, considering that I'd say the top 50 right now is maybe the most competitive it's ever been. It's really competitive up there. It's not easy to get high ranks. You need to both be willing to grind and you need to be really good. So I was really happy with myself for getting above the 1600s, and this deck definitely unlocked that. If you're struggling in the meta, I do recommend trying this deck. One catch being, while this is the strongest deck in the meta, unfortunately, or maybe or maybe not unfortunate, depending on your perspective, if you have one or not, Madeleine is really rare, so it's quite expensive. I believe the cheapest Madeleines listed for sale on the secondary market right now are around $50, 50 to 70, so it's definitely a bit expensive. I have been cracking Gen 4 packs trying to find one of these. So far, no luck, though. So I had to borrow one to grind with it the other day. But yeah, I think this deck is really amazing. Just a few more details on this before we jump into a featured match. JuJu Winter Spear is the Icicle 14 9-drop. So you're going to use this to do 14 damage to the opponent's face. Let me pull this up real quick. I'll edit the silence out. So JuJu right here, JuJu Winter Spear with Icicle 14. This guy is going to be one of your best ways to finish them off once they're down to 14 health or less. JuJu for 9 energy as a late game card. It can just come down and do that 14 damage. But even more powerful a lot of the times is the Quacka Bofa combo. So Quacka is in this deck. You'll see him right here in the 4-drops. And for 4, he has a good effect. He does 7 damage to an enemy creature that has at least 7 health. But what's really good is that he evolves into Giga Quack. So we're not actually running Giga Quack. You can, but my list doesn't have it. Yeah, my list doesn't have it. You can run it directly, but you can also get it with the Bofa combo, right? So Quacka evolves into Giga Quack. Giga Quack has Vortex 14, which will do 14 damage to the enemy's face, similarly to JuJu. But if you use your Bofa Tinker Time Warp will force a card to evolve. So if you play Quacka for 4 and then Bofa for 3, and Bofa targets Quacka, Quacka then will evolve into Giga Quack, right? So you play your Quacka, you Bofa it, which evolves it into Giga Quack, and then you get your Vortex 14, right? So for 7 mana, starting on turn 7 or even on turn 6, if you have the White Lily from going second, you'll be able to use the Bofa Quacka combo to get a Giga Quack really quickly. Turn 7, getting a 9-drop 2 turns earlier than you'd normally be able to. And if you do this on both of your Quackas, that's 28 damage to face, right? Then if you hit him with a JuJu, 28 plus 14, that's 42 damage. So the amount of face damage you're able to do is really nutty. Now, we used to use a strategy like this using the JuJu hero. JuJu summons a card that can do 5 damage to any target, but Madeleine summons the card that does 4 damage to one target and 2 damage to everything else with the boosted tsunami. So, like, JuJu's effect is just not as strong as Madeleine's. I do suspect Madeleine might eventually get nerfed. One last thing to talk about before we get into the featured match. We did recently just share the win rates for all the heroes, and it's a little small here, but in first place is Madeleine with 72% win rate. So, listen, there's got to be a deck that has the highest win rate. Not every top deck needs to get nerfed in every meta. With that said, I'm not really sure. There's a few things that might counter Madeleine, or at least be good against Madeleine, but it's really hard to build something that properly counters this deck. It seems like it might just be good against pretty much everything. It's definitely good against Incendium and Satana, as well as JuJu. So, like, a lot of the other top decks, Madeleine is really good against. So, I'm tempted to buy one because I still don't actually have one myself. I had to borrow one for these games. I'm going to show you one of the games I played, but, like, I don't know if I want to spend the money because it could get nerfed. If it ends up being too strong, if the win rate continues to rise, if it gets to 75 to 80%, I'm not sure exactly what the threshold is, but it's definitely plausible it gets nerfed. Maybe they'll make the ability cost more or nerf the active ability, or I don't know exactly what they'll do, right? But that makes me just cautious, you know? If you're going to spend money on this, just be aware. If it ends up being legitimately broken, it probably does get nerfed. So always be aware of that when you're thinking about spending. With that said, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be tempted to either open Gen 4 packs or to go to the secondary market and try to get themselves a Madeleine. This is clearly the strongest deck in the meta right now. With that said, I'm going to show you a match where we played Madeleine versus JuJu on the ladder during a stream that I did yesterday, and it was a fantastic example of how Madeleine is just so damn strong. So here's the featured match. Please, by the way, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and here we go. Up against Corrido, let's show how the Madeleine deck is trying to work. We do not need to mulligan here. Excellent hand with 1 drop, multiple 2 drops, multiple 3 drops. This is actually a gorgeous starting hand. This might be the perfect starting hand, aside from like an egg straight into a 9-drop. So yeah, we'll drop the Pudgy. Pudgy and pass. See how they're feeling on turn 1. They're feeling greedy with the cream puff. So they're playing JuJu, we're playing Madeleine. They can go face with Spooky, but in every other way, our ability is better. They do 5 damage to one thing. We do 4 damage to one thing, 2 damage to everything else. It's just so much more power that it's actually kind of crazy. We could honestly Lily right into a Tidorus here. Like, we're not at risk of getting muned, I guess, because we have Pudgy in the way. As long as Pudgy takes some damage. Am I crazy? I don't think I'm crazy. I mean, we could Two-Fist and try to set it up as well, but I think... Am I actually crazy? Or, like, we got multiple answers for Quantum Shift. I think we just go right into Tidorus here. Okay, Froskull, fine. That's alright, it was worth a try. The Froskull's Icicle 5. We're both running some similar cards for sure. But we know they have a hard time going wide. This, I mean, I'd love to go Two-Fist Bofa next turn. I could also Bofa the Pudgy this turn. I think I just don't want to turn down this play. Like, why wait for something better? We can just attack with Pudgy. And then a lot of people don't realize this. Pudgy evolves into a 7-9. So 5-7 plus 7-9 on turn 3 with the opponent having an empty board. I think that's fantastic. They Spikeable, I don't know how to pronounce that really. But we're like 1 step ahead of tempo now. And next turn we're getting into steady, so they probably just never get the board again, to be honest. Slaba here, because nothing else really makes a lot of sense. And this has no evolutions. I think I just go face. I guess. Okay, no. Because White Lily protects me from Quantum Shift. I'll leave the Lily. I'm trying to remember to play around Mune, because I'm kind of bad about not thinking about it, and then I take L's, and then I'm sad. Okay, they are using their ability, but my ability is the same as theirs, except better. I could do a tempo play, but I don't have to. I'll just summon a steady. If you want to start spamming our abilities, I am happy to do that along with you. They have a lot of cards now. Don't want to get too comfortable here. I really want to push more damage. That's fair. Ooh, the temple. Okay. I could actually obliterate the temple if I want. I just top decked Urgok. I can just double. Here's where it gets really nasty, right? So 4/4, 2/3. Two Fist mid, steady the side, and like we can just get ungodly, ridiculous amounts of tsunami value. It's 4 damage to one target, 2 damage to everything else every turn for 5 mana. Like, if you have good tempo at the start, it seems like it's pretty much over. So now we just want to think about what to use Urgok on. What's the best, like, when we really don't want to rush that out. I could maybe just freeze Timberfawn so I don't have to deal with it yet. Freeze that, and I'm seriously going to use steady every turn, probably. I could kill Timberfawn here. I'm actually going to chip away at the face. I really want face damage. I really want face damage. They killed their own Timberfawn with the Spooky, and then they played Enchanted Stream. Okay. I could just Urgok the cubes for convenience. And I will, because we're pretty much going to win this game. I will Urgok the cubes for convenience. I could even Stubby, but that's, like, not needed. We can just kill this. Straight into their stuff, you know? Pudgy, why not? Yeah, they have no way to get back in it now. That's it. So, JuJu was the meta. Axe does kill Urgok. JuJu was the meta at the start of Elemental Warfare, and now that Madeleine has been buffed, anyone who was asking for a Madeleine buff, their dreams have been answered. It remains to be seen what the win rate for this deck is going to look like. Is it going to be overpowered? Is the win rate going to be above 70, 75%, whatever the threshold is? I don't know. Feels like this deck might be eventually overpowered, but we'll see based on the win rate. We're not just going to overreact or anything. I'm curious. I'm a little suspicious this deck could be OP. All right, let's finish them in style. I'm not going to play Madeleine yet. Actually, playing Madeleine is a kind of a low priority because I'm always afraid of it getting stolen. I'm like more afraid of it getting stolen than I'm excited of it getting value. All right, let's rush to the finish. I want to win. I want to win. Let's take him down. This is a great example of Madeleine because it's like we're using the new water deck to beat the old water deck, you know? And JuJu is still really strong. The only reason JuJu isn't as good as it was is basically because Madeleine is the better water deck, I think. I have a hard time imagining JuJu can be playable compared to Madeleine if someone has both options. If you have JuJu, you don't have Madeleine, which a lot of players are in that position. I think JuJu is still good. But if you have Madeleine, it's just better. It just seems like it's better. And we'll see with the win rates, but I don't know. I am guessing if the win rate is high enough that it ends up being like mathematically broken over time, like maybe the ability just gets bumped up to 6, so it's a little bit slower, more expensive to use. That might be all it needs. And then JuJu at 5 would maybe be more of like an alternative package to run, basically. So we'll see how that all plays out. It's tempting to buy one of these Madeleines on secondary for like 50 to 70 bucks, depending what market you look at. Certainly tempting. I am resisting that urge. I'm holding off. I feel like I want to wait and see. I think either people are going to find counterplay or it'll eventually get nerfed if it's like actually impossible for people to counter, right? So I don't know. But I'm cracking packs like a maniac. Every stream we open packs looking for Madeleine, open Gen 4 packs, water packs, but it's just I'm not going to force it. I don't think I want to buy it on secondary at these prices. They're not even the craziest prices, but for champion standards, by champion standards, they're a bit more expensive. I usually am able to get cards like 20 to 40 at the high end, right? So it's possible the game it could be entering a new era of like more expensive cards, but I don't think so. I don't want to scare anybody when I say that. I don't think so. Oh, GG, here it is. I'm so busy rambling, I'm not seeing that I have the Bofa Giga Quack combo on the Quacka, giving us the lethal. So there you go. The Madeleine deck is ridiculously strong, dude. It's ridiculously strong.